Hi everyone. The great man once said development is about transforming lives and not just about transforming economies. I'm sure this has something to do with our standard of living and the word development everywhere you find yourself. And it's one of the words that probably has become the most used word because everyone wants to see growth, development in his or her community. When you come to our region here, we have a set of topics that relate to the problems of development. And students are supposed to know these problems that as they train them to become good social studies students, you become the problem solvers in our society. As learners in social studies, the topic is there to train you, set a foundation for you that you'll be aware of the challenging issues confronting our people in our communities, our economy, and then our governance system. And for that matter, the Ghana Education Service has put there problems of development in Ghana. Then the student has to study this topic before you even sit for your final exam. We'll be having a very interesting discussion. I would like you to get your pen and your pencils or your jotters and be ready. Let's enjoy ourselves in this particular lesson. If you are watching it for the first time, scroll down. The subscription button is there. Just touch it. The notification, click and make sure you like my video. If you enjoyed the lesson, put your comments there, your questions, and then anytime a new video is out, you get access to it. Share with other friends over there. Let them also enjoy and benefit. All right, let's get into our topic for this period, problems of development in Ghana. All right, so the concept of development itself is a broad one, and a lot of experts have come up with their own views and looking at their point of view. It tells clearly that everybody is trying to define development or explain the concept from their standpoint or position. Okay, in their situation, they have seen a lot of things that happen in our economy, things that happen in the lives of the people. So they come up with these definitions, and then we will try and look at our own situation or our context here or setting. Then we'll come up with a standard definition. Looking at all the views that they have given, you realize that it's just centered on one particular thing: standard of living. Standard of living. Of course, the living condition or the welfare of the people is highly taken into consideration when it comes to the issues about development. Now, I would like us to focus on two different points here: quantity and quality. These two words cannot be taken out when we are talking about issues about growth and then development. So, people have drawn the distinction between growth and then development using quantity and quality. So we'll get there. Just take a deep breath. Now, when you look at these two words, I see clearly that when it boils down to quality, then indeed we are talking about development. When it has to do with quantity, then we are focusing more on growth. Now, this actually has to happen. The growth. I'll tell you why. To see the development that we need. When you put the two together, they are all centering on standard of living. Standard of living. So my SOL means standard of living. Now, let me explain this. Experts feel that when you look at the pattern of growth, things that we see, the level of production increasing, we are seeing the population increasing, where people are predicting that, okay, if the population is increasing, it means that fertility rate is high, which tells clearly that we are having a very youthful population, vibrant one, And that gives us a promise that, yes, our labor is safe. We'll have a lot of people, manpower to employ to run the affairs of the state. Now, that is good. If we are seeing the increase in the population, is it affecting the lives of the people? So it has to bring a certain level of quality. If we are seeing a lot of exports, using big terms like GDP, gross domestic product, per capita income. So when we have our entire income as a nation or a country, money, divided by the number of people living within the country, what is one person getting? What is the value? Is it affecting the pockets of the people? Because at the end of the day, the people will ask the question, how does a term like macroeconomics, a term like microeconomics, those big words, GDP, gross domestic product, per capita income, we exporting more, our CD appreciating. I'm just giving an instance. I'm not saying that that's what we see in Ghana here, because when we go into the problems, you clearly see that these things actually aren't happening. Just that a lot of people, especially international observers or even investors, have seen that Ghana is a very good soil for investment and then trade, market, and all these things. So things get to boost often here when people come in, or they have given a lot of testimony about how things are working and how our growth rate is hitting. Now, people want to see these things reflect in their pockets. So they have every right, because they don't understand these terms. The old lady in the village, my grandma in the village, does not understand macroeconomics or microeconomics. At the end of the day, she wants to see whether all these big grammar we are speaking and these big terms we are using are putting kenke, okay, or food on her table. So people ask the question. The driver on the street is feeling the impact of the high prices of fuel, okay? But he knows very well that, okay, we live in a country where we have discovered oil and then we have a refinery. So why are we still buying these petroleum products or things getting at that level in terms of inflation? So that is the quality. When it's affecting the lives of the people, then there is a quality. Our education system. If we are building more schools, what kind of teaching is ongoing in those schools? How many of the children are having that quality education? Are we still recording a number of people or schools that are having their classes under trees? What is the welfare of the teachers in those schools? Of course, it will affect productivity. If the teachers are not paid well, and these workers, especially the public sector, are going on strike, health workers, and that is also affecting the health delivery system. So when that happens, the person who is having the health insurance card or is on the scheme still complains that, okay, I took the card to the hospital, but it couldn't cover some medication or maybe a number of medicine that I had to buy. So the problem is still there. The people are feeling it, even though they are seeing, they are telling them about growth, even though they are telling them about, okay, we adding value to our primary product and then we are selling or exporting them to other countries and we are gaining more. But how is that affecting the lives of the people? So you can see that even if we draw the distinction between growth and development, you put the two together, you should have a certain level of impact, or it has to reflect in the lives of the people. And that is the standard of living. So the basis of all this discussion about development is the fact that there is an increase. So this is what I put. I said that there should be a change. When there is a positive change, of course, when there is a positive change, when there is an increase, when there is an advancement, when there is an improvement in the status of our political life, our social life, our economic life. So somebody can just say political, socio-economic, or socio-economic political status or welfare of the people, of the citizens. Then we are talking about what? Development. So this has to do with the numbers, of course. We will see the numbers. And when we see the numbers, we expect that it will reflect in our life. So quality. So then development can be achieved. So looking at the broad nature of it, we have to look at the categories. These problems we are facing have been put in three major categories. So we look at the three areas: social problems, economic problems, and political problems. Of course, people will want to also talk about something that has to do with spiritual problems, but that is not our focus here. So we are looking at three major areas: social problem, political problem, and then the economic problem. Of course, if it is a problem, it means that it requires a solution. So that is what a certain wise man said, that a problem is something that needs or demands a solution. We have to apply these solutions practically to see that these things are dealt with. A lot of countries face these issues, and when you go there, they are trying to put in measures. Policymakers are there to make sure that these things are checked, or these problems are minimized or solved. So let's look at the category. So you take problems of development in Ghana. So we have the social problems, economic problems, and the political problems. So as a student, you need to know the social problems, you need to know the economic problems, and then the political problems. So these categories all have their examples. So let's deal with the social problem. This one is related to the welfare of the people. The welfare, basically the welfare of the people. So how are the people faring when it comes to healthcare? So healthcare delivery, the diseases, outbreak, cholera, diarrhea, malaria, these six killer diseases. How are children being affected by them? Look at that area too. What treatment are they receiving? Are we having enough vaccine to minimize the spread of these diseases? So that is then a social problem. Our education system, literacy rate, is it low or high? So it is high illiteracy rate here in Ghana because it's a developing country. So developed countries actually have high literacy rates, the ability to read and write. That's why I spoke about quality of education. What kind of teaching is ongoing in those schools? Basically, are people being taught how to read and write? Do they have the ability to do that or to show those skills? That is also a social problem. We also talk about the crime rate, high crime rate, crime incidents, armed robbery. Of course, if you're having issues with poverty, unemployment, you tend to see this crimes surging. So criminal activities, cyber fraud, or internet fraud. These things happen a lot. Among our youth here, it's a key issue. Now, you talk about provision of potable drinking water, affordable accommodation. We don't have that. People need to pay more to get a decent room. And even what is the definition of a decent room? That's relative, because other people too are paying more, but where they are staying, there's nothing to write home about. This is another social problem that we find here in Ghana, with a lot of them. A lot of them. Let's talk about economic problems. With the economic problems, of course, as I've put them there, the examples, a lot of them, high rate of unemployment. So you see that there is an issue with high indebtedness. We have borrowed so much that even the people who we borrow from are warning us to slow down. How is our spending going? We are always drawing a budget and then we are running to deficit because we spend more than we have even put down. Our expenditure keeps going higher and higher. issues with graduate unemployment. They complete tertiary institutions and some are just in the street. A lot of them are looking for non-existent jobs. That's an issue. That's a big issue. And these people are always there trying to seek the job. Some of these jobs too occupied by the aged. These aged people have found a way of reducing their age or so they don't go on pension. And there is no vacancy in the system. So if government comes out to say, finance minister comes out to say that, yes, the public sector can't employ a lot of people any longer because the area is choked, the sector is choked, and therefore the youth should venture into entrepreneurship. That's a good thing, of course. It means that we are not experiencing a certain quality looking at what is going on in the country. High cost of living, inflation, paying more to buy just an item. And we see it day in, day out, fuel prices and so on and so forth. That is also an issue. So these are some of the economic issues. And we can also talk about our overdependence on foreign aid. Everything, even including ideas. Things that we should be able to produce here. Local production. We haven't been able to add more value to our raw materials and we export them. So they are bought cheaply by other countries. This is an issue. So that can also be an economic problem, or these are a set of economic problems with the likes I've listed here. Political problems, of course, they have to do with our governance system, our ruling system, even from the traditional setting up to the top. What is happening? Our executives, our arms of government, what are the issues with the constitution? There's abuse of power. Some people, even civilians, trying to stage coup, which is not the right way to come into power. Wrongful takeover of power. We have experienced that in the past. And then we've had issues too about political interference, especially in the public corporations, choosing people as board of directors or whatever. These things can bring a lot of confusion in our system. Nepotism and favoritism. Government comes into power and is being accused of putting friends and cronies and families there to run their affairs. Of course, if they are competent, we don't have any problem with it. But if they are not, then there is a challenge. So that is also a political. Electoral malpractices. In elections, we see rigging, gerrymandering. We see a lot of issues that have to do with massaging the figures. Electoral violence. Political parties forming vigilante groups and then causing mayhem, violence, beating up people, stealing ballot papers, ballot boxes. All these are political issues. Chieftaincy disputes, of course. If there is confusion at the top, and then we need, the chieftaincy setup itself is a very rich area where we have to look at, because that is where most of the subjects, grow from, and then they are able to connect with their chiefs very well. So when there is some form of power struggle or wrongful people coming into power when they don't belong to a certain family lineage, then that will bring confusion. That has to do with authority. So that is also a political issue with the other ones I've listed here. And then, of course, we can also talk about nepotism and favoritism. We can also talk about abuse, issues with abuse of fundamental human rights, and then issues that have to do with intolerance, especially government in power trying to frustrate press freedom or witch hunts or go after people that they feel are trying to criticize them. So, and it happens with all the issues that have to do with dictatorship. So, when you look at the problems closely, you realize that they are actually related. If you pick something under unemployment, the high rate of unemployment could be a major issue why people are wallowing in poverty as a social problem, why people can't seek proper medical care because the money is not there, why people can actually get a decent accommodation or housing for them to live and have their peace with their families. Okay, so all these issues, then political problems, because if the party comes into power, if our governance system is challenged in a way, then probably it will descend, or it's like the oil drips down and then affects those that are there, because these people are the ones in the helm of affairs who are supposed to champion the cause and put the policies in place and make decisions for us. So if the decisions go wrong over here, it will affect the number of jobs that have to be provided. It will affect the people that come in to do, even investors who come in to carry out their business activities in the country. And that is going to affect the number of people that are employed locally. And then production will go down. When that happens, then it affects our standard of living. That is the whole thing about development and growth. So, one, take note, the problems are closely related. We know that development has to do with what? The increase in all aspects of our lives, quality wise and then quantity wise. And that is what you have to know as a social studies student. So we've succeeded in giving examples of these. In another lesson, what I'll try to do is to pick, because if you are sitting for an exam and you are asked to describe any of the problems, they can ask you to describe 4 social problems facing Ghana. You should be able to pick any of them and then explain. So I'll just give you how to explain one of the problems, what they require or what they expect that each candidate should do when you are explaining a social problem, an economic problem, or a political problem. Then I'll leave it to the solutions. There are a number of them that the moment you begin to see the causes of the problems, probably the solutions will start coming. And I'm sure you are brilliant students out there. You've been able to come out with some of these solutions as a future leader or a good social studies student. Thank you for watching this lesson, and I believe you have learned something in this short video. I'll be coming your way with other interesting lessons. Keep watching GCL tutorials and take care out there. Bye for now.